Hello, fabulous friends, fans, and superstars. Welcome to your horoscope for the week of December 2nd, 2018. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. What an amazing week it is. We have an important sky, certainly. On the one hand, it is inspired and compassionate. On the other, it is revelatory, filled with awarenesses and clarity. At the same time, we are going to welcome in an important moment as part of the larger Venus retrograde season that we are still in, but not for too much longer, thankfully. And there is so much more. A new moon as well to talk about. I'm excited to tell you about it all. So I want to start with Mercury. It will be right in the middle of the week, right around Wednesday or Thursday, that Mercury will change directions and go direct. This is very exciting in and of itself. However, Mercury is doing something special this week, and that is basically just hanging out in the same spot in the sky. Will visually look like it is not moving over the course of the week. And while it is hanging out, as I like to say, hanging out, what astrologers would call stationary direct in the same part of the sky, it is going to be holding on to a conversation all week with Uranus. Now, this is a type of conversation called a quincunx, and it is not necessarily a classical conversation. It is mostly used more in modern astrology. However, it is a notable energy nonetheless. I like to think of a quincunx. It's a type of nature of the conversation that can be a little bit surprising. It's like all of a sudden these two different energies in these two different areas of life have to find a way to get along in sometimes very quick moments. And so they make us act spontaneously and act fast, but at the same time and in the process, we get to see our own agility. We get to see how we can make connections and make different areas work, sometimes in a split second, and sometimes where we thought we couldn't make it come together, it really can in powerful ways. Well, it is this week and all week that Mercury and Uranus both will be hanging out in conversation and in some precision as well. And to me, this represents powerful awarenesses. Think about this. It is and was actually late last week that Mercury retrograded back into the sign of Scorpio. And so as part of this Mercury retrograde season, Mercury has just spent a little bit of time in the sign of Scorpio, but most of the time in the sign of Sagittarius. Well, it is going to be all week that Mercury is hanging out this week in the sign of Scorpio while holding tight this conversation. And to me, this is all about truth. It is about our personal truth, our collective truth. It is about seeing things clearly, understanding the complexities of a given situation, or even of ourselves. And it is about finding these moments that can come out of nowhere, that can surprise, that can delight, that ultimately allow us to get to our truth. And so, given the nature of the rest of the week, which has a lot of emotion to it and very strong feelings associated with it that may take us a little bit of time to really figure out, I feel like this is going to be one of the great saving graces that we will get these moments, sometimes very spontaneous moments, to actually have conversations, have interactions with each other that help us to clarify, that help us to understand what these larger lessons have been or are playing out for us, and where is it that we are ready to truly step into ourselves, step into our own power. You know, there's a saying, well, not a saying, it's more like a description of Uranus by Jeff Green, the legendary astrologer who wrote the book Pluto, Evolutionary Journey of the Soul. It's a huge reference book that a lot of students of astrology, at some point you come across this book and it just changes you profoundly. And it is part of what I think helps a lot of people commit more deeply to a journey of astrology. He did write another book as well that maybe isn't as well known, and it is about Uranus. And in this book, he says that Uranus is about helping you to become whom it is that you were created to be, and not whom it is that you've been conditioned to be. Well, I like to see the sign of Scorpio and the planet Uranus, both associated with a strong sense of authenticity. Both of these placements, the sign and the planet, even though on the surface they're not connected, in many ways they help us, these energies help us to truly step into what Carl Jung would have called individuation. That is your most authentic self, your integrated and whole self. Sometimes that integration happens when our buttons get a little bit pressed, or when we have certain reactions to a given moment and we get to ask ourselves why. Sometimes it is this awareness that comes about through a more therapeutic process, right? Like we'll go through therapy, we'll do the diligent work, we'll commit to the whole process. And that can be a very diligent process. And it's a process of a lot of bravery. There's another great book written by Scott M. Peck. It was a huge bestseller way back in the day, called The Road Less Traveled. Well, this book is really all about therapy and how it is that by committing to that journey, we truly are able to find ourselves. And it isn't something that you necessarily just find in an instant or find in a moment, but it is a journey that you undertake and slowly allow yourself to be revealed. Well, that is the Scorpion energy. And with Mercury here, it really is about finding the truth, finding the core, finding the essence through conversation, through communication, through messages and sharing of ideas. And then we've got Uranus, and Uranus is not a diligent energy. Uranus is like thunder. It is lightning, it is clarity, it is in a moment feeling like a lot of things have come together to help us to have a realization. And that realization changes us from the inside out. That realization helps us to clear away the past so that we can fully step into not only our present, but align more with a future that is authentically ours and ours alone. Not decided for us, but based on our own experiences and our own connection to the truth of who we are, based on our own inner authority. That is powerful. So these two energies, Mercury in the sign of Scorpio, and then Uranus in the sign of Aries, at the very end of the sign of Aries, an anorectic degree, a concentrated part of the sky of that sign. And that sign is all about self. Right? It's all about independence and the breath and the embodiment. And you bring these together, and it is as if it is a clarity that we can feel in our blood and in our bones. It is as if in a moment we have an epiphany that changes everything. What is it that we get clarity on? Well, in part, it has to do with the last few weeks. Days before Halloween is when Mercury entered shadow. And that was the last time that Mercury was where it is right now. And that was the last time, although it was very fleeting and in passing, and there was a lot going on in the sky that week, that was the last time these two planets spoke in this way as part of this larger Mercury retrograde season. Well, now here we are at a pivotal moment. This is also where Jupiter was, where Mercury is now, the last time that they met in the sky, or rather 2 times before. When they first met in the sky, they met here, and then more recently they met in the sign of Sagittarius, and very soon, a little bit further into the month, they will meet for a third and final time. But even though Jupiter isn't here, it is activating the point of the conjunction. It is activating the part of the sky where Mercury and Jupiter were not so long ago, just before Halloween. And so in some way, it is going to be this week that helps us to further our blessings, to bring a measure of clarity as to where it is that we actually are better off since then, but also wherever it is that we thought we had a great idea, or we had a conversation, or we had an expectation. Well, this is where we're going to get really clear about the nuances, and we're going to recognize what it is that we had overlooked before. And whatever that realization is, know that it will bring great blessings with it as well. It will bring great hope with it as well. That is the power of activating this conjunction that took place way back in late October. Also this week, right out of the gate at the start of the week, Venus will move into the sign of Scorpio. So as we start this week, it's just 2.5 more weeks to go of the larger Venus retrograde season. So this is where Venus is direct, but retracing her steps. And this is one of the pivotal moments as part of this larger cycle. Now, we've had some repeats, some mirroring lately. Late last week, Venus stood across the sky from Uranus. Now it is going to be at the very beginning of this week that Venus will step into the sign of Scorpio. Now think back, it was mid-September and it was right around Halloween. Well, that was the last time that Venus was where she is this week as we start this week. So it is important to pay attention because in some way, what transpires now, what awakens now, is in some way connected to these earlier time frames because it represents a larger clarity and it represents the furtherance of some learning that we are going through on a level of heart, certainly because it is Venus, but certainly on a level of soul as well. Now, to have this take place at the very beginning of the week and having Venus moving into a part of the sky where Mercury is pretty powerful right about now, to me is mind meeting heart. It is going to allow us to not only have the awarenesses and the deeper awarenesses, but it's also going to allow us to bring love to what it is that we become aware of. And where it is that we have parts of ourselves that we've rejected, that we haven't wanted to look at, that we wish we didn't really have to acknowledge as much, or we wish we didn't have to do the work that healing requires, well, here comes Venus telling us that we can bring love to this moment and that in doing the work, there are great blessings to be had as well. But there is another layer to understand this because Mercury in Scorpio, for that matter, and speaking with Uranus, well, it's all about the truth coming out, right? This is in a surprise way, a very quick way. All of a sudden, it's like cats out of the bag. A whole lot comes to the surface and a whole lot is revealed. Now, for some people, this is going to be in their own lives. We'll certainly see this on a level of the collective as well, because Mercury does rule media. Venus in Scorpio will help us to get to some truth about where we are in love and why and how we feel about it. Now, romantic love is awesome. That can be part of this energy. It is, after all, Scorpio, which is very much about merging with another. But it doesn't have to necessarily be romantic. It can be a universal love as well. And where we are in that journey, what have we healed within ourselves to allow ourselves to love more fully, to love each other? Well, this awareness will start to be realized now by more and more people. But this really has been the lesson, the larger lesson as part of the Venus retrograde season. And with these peak moments that have come and gone, we have been invited to contemplate more deeply where it is that we can allow more love in, whether that is romantic love, whether that is universal love, or very importantly, where that is love and a deeper acceptance of ourselves. Now, also this week, Mars will meet Neptune in the sky. This, I think, is going to be one of the defining energies of this week. As Mars rushes towards Neptune, which is slowly starting to go forward, it is going to be both of these planets that will, over the course of this week, reach out and speak with the sun before perfecting their conversation later in the week. And then as they meet in the sky right around Thursday, well, hours later, we will have a new moon. And this new moon will be speaking to this configuration as well. So Mars meeting Neptune in the sky is essentially, in some ways you could say, aggravating its energies. In other ways you could say magnifying, bringing a sense of force and fruition to Neptunian energies that much more. But essentially this is an energy of compassion, but it can also be confusion. There is that sense here of being inspired and feeling things very deeply. Chances are music is going to feel very powerful to a lot of people, and it is music that brings about strong emotion, like tears can happen now as well. However, this energy can also be very ungrounded and not necessarily coming from a place that is compassionate, that is loving. Now, a lot of that is about who we are, right? If we are loving people, then when these energies come about, it magnifies our love that much more. But sometimes when that isn't really the case, well, this is going to magnify a sense of possibly some delusion as well. And so the important thing to remember here is, where is it that we can actively engage this energy? Well, that has to do with plugging into source and allowing ourselves to feel. It has to do with knowing that there are times when it can feel like emotion is a wave. And just as that emotion comes, it can go as well. And some emotions are amazing, right? They give us a high. This is absolutely that sense of a high. However, for every high, there is a low. And that's what this new moon is meant to teach us as well. The chance of overdoing it, right? Whatever it is for you, becomes very likely, especially as we move towards the later part of the week. And so we are going to have to strive to be more honest with ourselves. That is really how it is that we'll end up using this energy in a way that empowers us that much more. And so, as I said, overdoing it, whether that's partying or escapist tendencies, which can be very strong with Mars and Neptune together, whether that is feeling as if we need to be more, right? Whatever it is for us, where it is that we have to bring forward more of ourselves, is it something that we are genuinely doing because we feel like we're bringing forward our best, or is it that we are being indulgent? That is part of the awareness that we are going to need to cultivate at this time. One really great way to use this energy is if you are a creative person of any kind, if it is that you like to be inspired, right? Music, art of any kind. Well, this can be a time where you find this bridge of bringing together your own sense of values, your own beliefs. Now, they could be, for example, this is the sign of Sagittarius, so we're looking at political beliefs, legal beliefs, and having that come together with art. Well, this could be a great time to create something like that. It is possible with this energy that an artist presents something along these lines and it provokes a very strong conversation in the cultural collective. It is also possible that this work of art ends up provoking a particular debate and strong reactions that can go either way. But it is, of course, what we do with our own reactions that matters most. It is when we choose to approach things from a place of calm, from a place of self-knowing. It is when we approach others and ourselves with compassion and kindness and gentleness. Well, that is when we give permission for all of us to approach each other with greater gentleness as well. And I think that that is part of the great opportunity now. As much as there is this very strong, emotional, spiritual, creative energy, there's also an energy here of mind, an energy here of insight, an energy here of clarity that cuts through the illusions and allows us to see the core, allows us to see what's really going on, and allows us to see the truth. Now, a lot of this is about what we choose, of course. Choice is a huge matter. What will we indulge? Will we indulge the insights? Will we indulge the truth? Or will we indulge illusions? Now, the great thing about being human is you don't really have to choose one or the other. You can find a wonderful way to bridge the two. We need inspiration. We need to feel connected to source from time to time in order to give our lives meaning. We need to be able to give and be altruistic and sometimes even to sacrifice in order to feel that much more useful in the world. But at the same time, we need to be well used on every level, including our level of mind. And we are always striving, I do believe, more and more for a more authentic expression and a more authentic life. Now, what that looks like uniquely for you will reveal itself in surprising moments. And when those moments come, when Uranus connects with Mercury, as he will this week, well, chances are we won't be able to stay in that dreamy state all the time or for too long. Chances are we'll be pulled out of it with moments of clarity. Now, it is about ultimately taking that inspiration and taking that clarity and grounding it so that it matters for something in the fullness of time and in our lives in practical ways. Well, the practicality is coming, no worries. This week, maybe not so much. It's more a week of being inspired, and it's more a week of thinking in new creative ways. And it is a week that's going to allow us to touch on truth that can change us in meaningful ways. What I love about this week for us, well, I'm going to say what I do really love is Venus. Venus moving forward, Venus beginning the divine wrap up, as I spoke about in the monthly horoscopes that are up on YouTube now. This is where it's going to start to feel like things really are coming full circle in terms of these larger lessons that we have been engaged in. And it's going to feel more and more as if we are connecting to some truth about ourselves. And the great thing is that ultimately our highest truth truly is love. Well, thank you so much for watching. I'm so grateful for it. What do you love about this week? What are you excited about? Let me know in the comments below. I absolutely love reading you guys here on YouTube. It is so much fun. I've been loving our interactions and I always look forward to them. You can find out what all this wonderful stuff this week means for you and your sign by logging on to nadiyashah.com. Sign up to be one of my superstars. Superstars get expanded exclusive video scopes each and every week, unlimited access to special horoscopes, including the Venus retrograde special horoscopes, the Jupiter special horoscopes, so much more. All of this in the superstar space. I look forward to meeting you there. I've got a bunch of big events coming up. I've got an online event happening later this month with Cosmic Intelligence Agency, and it's all about karma and the nodes, and we'll be looking ahead at 2018 as well. There should be a link below in the description. I'd love to meet you there online and learn together. And in person, I have a bunch of events coming up that I'm really very excited about. The 29th of January, Tuesday, I will be in Las Vegas, hosted by the NCGR Stargazers group. And then I will rush back to Mexico. And on the 2nd of February, I will be a special guest as part of a week-long retreat. I think it's actually over a week long at Xixim in Mexico, which isn't too far from Cancun. And it's just an incredible week of immersion with the amazing and renowned evolutionary astrologer Maurice Fernandez and others. Gemini, Brett, and so many others are going to be there. And you can learn all about that by clicking on the link in the description below. And just to give you a little bit of a heads up to save the date, I've got other things coming up in the new year as well. In May, I'll be in Vancouver and in Seattle. And Labor Day weekend, I will be in Baltimore, and lots more events coming up as well. Again, online and in real time. And I look forward to meeting you in person or online or whatever. It'll be great. Now, a little bit of a change of pace. I wanted to suggest something or just share something, and it's a little bit hard because I get very emotional when I start thinking about it again. But I watched this incredible documentary, not related to astrology, but I really did want to share it. It was a very profound experience watching this, and a profound meditation to me on love and healing and trust, and how it is just profound how life can regenerate and learn to love again and learn to trust again. When there's no good reason to trust, we can trust again. So that's part of what gets me very emotional when I think about this incredible documentary I watched. And the documentary is called Champions. I saw it on Netflix a few weeks ago, and it is based on the work of an organization called Best Friends, and they are an organization that works to rehabilitate and, where possible, rehome animals of all kind who have experienced severe trauma and severe abuse. And sometimes it is not possible to rehome these animals because they have experienced such heartache. But to me, this was so profound to watch. It felt like it changed me deeply, and it felt like something that I hope more and more people will see, which is why I'm mentioning it. And I don't remember ever really mentioning anything like this before to you, but I wanted to mention it. There is a little bit about some of the things that these animals have been through, and it's just a little, but it's enough. And if you wanted to, you could go to that place of anger. And I really hope that that isn't what you get out of this. And the reason I say that is because there is so much here that is so hopeful. It is incredible how the act of giving love, when you don't know if it'll be returned, if you don't know it'll count for something, but being patient and kind and diligent, we do it for ourselves. We do it because it heals us. And in the process, it can end up healing others. And indirectly, it can heal others in ways that we never imagined. And as I said, to me, the big takeaway was trust. When there's no good reason to ever trust again, when there has been so much pain, we can trust again. We can love again. And that was part of what made this a very moving experience to watch this documentary. And this is why I haven't shared it yet. I watched it like a month ago or something, but every time I tried to think about it and started talking about it, I couldn't talk. And so I'm glad I can talk about it now. And if you are so inspired, of course, you can have a look at this documentary. If you are so inspired, you could learn more about this organization, Best Friends, and whatever it is that you feel inspired towards. And especially with a week like this, with such compassionate energy, as I said, don't allow the pain, because they do mention the pain. As I said, they don't spend a lot of time in it, but they do mention specifically some of the things that have gone on, but not for too long, just for a little bit. And it's easy to go to the pain, but the thing is that we are stronger than the pain. We are bigger. We are more resilient. Love is stronger. And that's what I felt while watching this, and I hope that you will have a look at it, especially with a week like this, where we get to choose. We get to have insights into ourselves, into each other. We get to realize how powerful and transformative a force that love can be, and we can decide to take the energy this week and apply it in a way that magnifies compassion in the world. And I truly do believe that the one way that we can help the world to be a more compassionate place is to start by being more compassionate with ourselves. And as we show ourselves compassion, we will find ways to show compassion, what may appear to others, in small ways. And where it is that we have written off the possibility of healing to happen, love and compassion can transform that situation into one that is worthy of cherishing and worthy of celebration. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for allowing me to be some small part of your sacred journey. I'm truly so grateful for it. Thank you again. It'll be a great week. Enjoy.